morning and a warm welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Heshain Ali and let's have a look at the headlines first. The United States of America is fully positive with the President's proposal of renegotiation of the MCC agreement. Relief package for the SME sector will increase the money circulation satisfactorily, State Minister Sem Singh says. News in detail. The government's policy of facilitating the SME sector is not just to strengthen the treasury, but to increase the money circulation in the country while the production sector goes up. State Minister Sem Singh made these remarks addressing the media today at the Temple Trees.
If you see from the small and medium scale enterprises, what was the contribution on VAT? There was absolutely no contribution because they all were crashing. So the reductions have been given also considering the fact that there was very less contribution because they had no turnover. They didn't have any way of rolling the business. So our policy itself is not to strengthen the treasury only. So while we strengthen the treasury, we will ensure that money circulation in this country will go up. Even by giving a 2 million amount to a Ramaseva division, the main point what we focus is, we will have it up and going again. We will create confidence among all people in Sri Lanka that country is back in safe hands, safe leaders, and that we have started to progress. So our policy itself, I have always told, is not only to strengthen the treasury and fill the kitty in the treasury. We will ensure that people get more benefits, and if we can do that, the economy will grow, and at the same time the required or anticipated contribution to the treasury will come.
The Presidential Secretariat announces that the plan to recruit 100,000 unskilled youths to multitask human resource force has reached its final stage. The plan is being done under the vision for progress envisaged in the election manifesto of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The notification for calling for applications to recruit 100,000 unskilled youths to multitask human resource force will be issued. Under the scheme, youths belonging to the poorest of poor families will be selected, and it will assure an income to the poorest families, raising the living standards of those families. The statement by the Presidential Secretariat said that once recruited, they will be provided with skills training and deployed to different public sector institutions for employment where close to their permanent residencies. Under the scheme, unemployed graduates will also get employment to manage this recruitment, training and job deployment. The recruitment will be conducted under the supervision of Buddhist monks and other heads of religious places, government agents and public officials. The assistance of security force officials will also be provided for the recruitment process. The youths will be employed in hospitals and government offices as unskilled workers and in other departments such as fisheries and wildlife after training them in the required skills. They will also be trained in skills such as carpentry, mason and other such vocations and deployed to the government services where such workers are required. The Millennium Challenge Cooperation Agreement with Sri Lanka will be renegotiated after the commission appointed by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to study the agreement concludes its study, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for State for South and Central Asian Affairs Alice Wells said. Ambassador Wells, who is on a 2-day official visit to Sri Lanka, made this revelation after engaging in bilateral discussions with the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa Tuesday in Colombo. During the discussion with Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs Alice Wells, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has told her that the proposal to MCC agreement is being studied by a panel of experts at the moment. The President has also noted that the aspirations of the people of both the US and Sri Lanka should be taken into consideration in the future activities of the MCC agreement as both countries respect democracy. Ambassador Wells said the US government respects Sri Lanka's decision to appoint a committee to study the proposed agreement and will await the outcome of that process. Meanwhile, addressing the reporters before her departure, Alice Wells said she also delivered a letter from US President Donald Trump to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and the letter underscored the commitment and interest by the US to further its partnership with Sri Lanka. Discussion focused on economy, elections, collaboration to generate foreign direct investments, securing human rights, and ways to strengthen the partnership between the two countries. Expressing concerns on Chinese investments in Sri Lanka, the US officials said the Hambantota port agreement with China is unsuccessful and an injustice to the Sri Lankan people. Deputy Assistant to the US President Donald Trump, Lisa Curtis, and US Ambassador to Colombia, Aliena B. Teplitz, also participated in discussions with the Sri Lankan President and other officials. The Colombo Stock Exchange has decided to discontinue the current industry classification used to categorize its listed companies and adopt the Global Industry Classification Standard known as GICS along with S&P CSE co-branded sector indices with effect from the 20th January this year. Colombo Stock Exchange initiated a pilot run of the GICS classification in 2015, which is maintained as a secondary classification with an intention to provide adequate time for all stakeholders to be comfortable with GICS and ensure a smooth transition. The GICS structure, which comprises of 11 sectors and 24 industry groups, provides the transparency and accuracy needed for more accurate comparisons. Companies are classified quantitatively and qualitatively, with each company assigned a single GICS classification at the industry group level according to its principal business activity. CSE Chief Executive Officer Rajiva Bandaranaike, commenting on the adoption of the global classification mechanism, said that the CSE is fully ready to adopt a globally accepted classification which would help the foreign and local investors alike to capture and assess the impact of global, regional or local industry trends on a portfolio. The Global Industry Classification Standard was jointly developed by Standard & Poor's and MCSI Barra to meet the global financial community's need for one complete, consistent set of global sector and industry definitions. GICS classification of companies with market data can be accessed through www.csc.lk and more information can be obtained by calling 011 235 6526. Stay tuned for more news right after this commercial break. Welcome back after the break. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructed officials to plan a target-based strategy to promote the tourism industry, increasing income from tourism to $10 billion by 2025. President Rajapaksa made these directives during a meeting with officials of the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation held at the Presidential Secretariat this Monday. The Presidential Secretariat had arranged a meeting to discuss the issues identified related to the tourism sector and measures to promote the industry. President emphasized the necessity of upgrading the quality of facilities provided to tourists visiting the country, and amenities at airports should be streamlined. Importance of developing places of tourist attraction and building an effective promotional mechanism was also highlighted by the President. President also pointed out that the indigenous Ayurvedic system has already become highly popular among foreigners and to prioritize the service and facilities at such places. President also directed the officials of the aviation sector to provide a standard service all the time and maintain the coordination and communication between the due officials. President also suggested to establish direct flights as it will be a main factor to increase the influx of tourists. Accordingly, attention was paid to commence direct flights between Sri Lanka and European countries. Ministers Prasanna Ranatunga, Arundhika Fernando, Secretary to the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation, S.M. Mohammed, Secretary to the State of Ministry of Tourism Promotion, S.S.S. Fernando, and several other senior officials were present at the discussion. Micro Automobiles Chairman Dr. Lawrence Pereira says he expects the new government to consider to go ahead with its plan of introducing 2,000 low-floor buses. Speaking to the media on streamlining public transportation, he said the country had the capacity and infrastructure of manufacturing buses for local transportation and added that the country also had reached the point of discontinuing bus importation.
Looking at export, of course, we need little time for export. First, the products that we are going to do here must perform well, and then we can look at export market. I mean, export market is something that is not going to disappear in a year or two. But the product that we are exporting, we have to be much more careful because we have to provide services outside of Sri Lanka. India is a giant bus builder, but unfortunately, the standard of the buses or quality of the buses does not meet to the requirement of many countries, sadly, but they will come there. So for them, Sri Lanka was a best export market. Since there was no standard for buses, you can export anything. But looking at exports, leaving out India, there are other markets, like South Africa is open for us, right? But if we do a quality product, not comparing our product, what we are going to do in Sri Lanka, to compare with European standard products, then we have an opportunity. It won't be thousands of buses, but it can be some units which is good enough to show our presence in those countries.
Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena underlines the importance of China's engagement in Sri Lanka's pursuit of developing important infrastructure, encouraging foreign direct investment and cooperation in the spheres of security, education and tourism. Foreign Minister Gunawardena made these observations after he concluded a meeting with his Chinese counterpart in Colombo. The Chinese Foreign Minister and State Counsel Wang Yi met with the Minister of Foreign Relations Dinesh Gunawardena at the Foreign Ministry on Tuesday. Chinese government senior representative reiterated its solidarity and support to the new government of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Welcoming Minister Wang Yi, Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena thanked China for its consistent contribution to Sri Lanka's development process, as well as their support at numerous regional and international fora, including the Human Rights Council. Taking stock of the achievements under the framework of the strategic cooperative partnership that the two countries embarked in 2013, China expressed hope that both countries should strive to take advantage of the conducive climate that had emerged under the new administration in Sri Lanka. Both ministers expressed optimism that the state visit envisaged would provide fresh impetus to discover pragmatic strategies to steer cooperation forward and further enhance Sri Lanka's visibility in China that would encourage trade, investment and tourism to the benefit of Sri Lanka. Minister Wang had calls on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa during his stay in Sri Lanka. A gazette notice was issued by Presidential Secretary P.B. Jayasundara restricting the monthly allowance of chairmen of corporations and boards to 100,000 rupees and the provision of only one official vehicle. The gazette notification highlights that the plan would be capable of reducing at least 25% of the budgetary allocations. The gazette notification dated the 13th of January has been already circulated to all ministry secretaries and secretaries to state ministers, provincial chief secretaries, secretaries of provincial governors, heads of departments and heads of government corporations and statutory boards. This gazette notice on the monthly allowance of chairmen of corporations and boards has been issued on the orders of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa under the program of limiting state expenditure. According to the gazette notice, 150 litres of fuel a month or an equivalent amount as an allowance would be paid to chairmen of corporations and statutory boards. The gazette further instructs authorities not to appoint executive directors to any corporation or statutory board, and if already appointed, suitable steps to be taken in this regard. The monthly allowance paid to directors was limited to 25,000 rupees and that there be no change irrespective of the number of meetings attended by them. It also states that no official vehicles would be allocated to the directors and transport facilities to be provided only to attend board meetings, and that in the event any director was being provided with transport facilities outside these instructions, approval for such deviations should be approved by the General Treasury. Stay tuned for stock updates. And welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped minus 27.64 points to close at 5,940.99, and the S&P SL20 dropped by minus 22.74 points to close at 2,807.22. The turnover was 283 million rupees and over 12 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. That's all news for today. Log into our Facebook page to get the latest news and updates. Also, don't forget to send us your comments, views and opinions via our email address and hotline. With that, we'll be signing out for today. See you tomorrow. Until then, take care. Good night.